So normally when I film my videos, I sit for a few minutes and deliberate on what I want my intro or hook to be so that I can get you captivated early on so that you'll want to watch the whole video. However, this video is a little different because honestly, as I look at these posts, these don't even deserve an intro. So without further ado, the first post right here, all this is just appeasing to Euro poor cope. See where this is going. Europeans cannot comprehend how rich us Americans are. You can make $150,000 annually working in a gas station or as a bartender. 150,000 Thai baht maybe, but not 150,000 US dollars. I don't know what America he lives in, but the America that I come from, you are not making that working in a gas station or as a bartender. And if you are, then hey, I was wrong about everything I said about the US, and I will be on the first flight back, and I will be at the front of the line applying for one of those jobs at the gas station. But I am willing to bet my life savings that this is complete bullshit. Complete bullshit. That is literally false. Objectively false. I don't think there is a place on the planet where you can make that much working in a gas station or as a bartender. And bartenders, I don't know if they get paid like servers do, but I know bartenders do take tips. But servers in restaurants, they make as little as $2 or $3 per hour base. And if they don't cover the rest in tips, then they make the minimum wage, which in a state like Texas and most red conservative states in the US is a whopping $7.25 per hour. So just enough to go to the movies every weekend. Well-paid lawyers and software engineers in Germany only earn $50,000. They live in squat little houses, have no AC, and have no freedom to speak against their governments. Life is miserable in Europe. They all want to live in America. You only saw the tourist Disney stuff. Now listen, do not dislike my video based on what this person is saying, because I don't know who this is or why they're spreading lies like this. I mean, it's always the people with no profile pictures where it's just the letter and the color as their profile picture. But this is crazy. This has to be rage bait. There's no way this is actually real. But I know there are Americans who think like this. Maybe not to this extent, but there are Americans who think that because you earn more on paper in the US for a similar job, that you must have a higher quality of life. There's not always a direct correlation between the amount of money you make and your quality of life. In fact, one of my biggest realizations in my early adulthood has been that wealth actually has very little to do with how much money you make. Once you have your base expenses covered, it's not about money anymore. Wealth is a measure of how much of your time you own. Not how much money you have in the bank, but how much of your time you own. And based on that right there, statistically speaking, Europeans are far and away wealthier than Americans. And it's not even close. And I'm also willing to bet that lawyers and software engineers in Germany are making more than $50,000. I'm willing to bet that. But even if they weren't, they still enjoy a higher quality of life because of what that $50,000 comes with. It comes with not having crazy student loan debt. It comes with having universal healthcare or something very close to it. If you're German, then I'd love to hear more about how the healthcare system works in Germany in the comments below, because I don't really know much about it. But I know it's not like the US where people are spending $3,000 for an ambulance ride. And as far as having no AC, that is by choice. I've already covered that topic in another video, but you can install an AC in your house in Germany. Pretty much anywhere in Europe, you can do that. That is something that you have access to. But as an American, you don't have access to universal healthcare. That's the key with Europe. They have true freedom because freedom is having the ability to choose. Americans do not have that. On to the next post. At the airport, America will be lost to the immigrants thanks to Biden and Kamala. Norway, here I come. Okay, I'm not gonna lie, for a second there, I almost just ended the video and just scrapped the whole footage because I don't know if I can handle this today. I'm sleep deprived. I don't have the patience for this. Let's break this down. Okay, so America will be lost to immigrants thanks to Biden and Kamala, who are both leftist politicians. So your solution to get away from left-leaning politicians is to go to Norway. Of all places in the world, you choose to go to Norway, probably one of the most left-leaning countries on the earth, on the planet. You choose to go there. And not only that, but for some reason in that brain of yours, it escapes your sense of logic and reasoning that by going to Norway, you become an immigrant. Oh my gosh. So there's so much wrong with this that honestly, I'm losing faith. I am genuinely losing faith because if this is how people are thinking, and again, I hope this is fake. I hope that all the posts I ever react to in videos like this are actually fake. Deep down, that's what I'm hoping. But I know they're not. And I know that even if this post is fake, there are still people who think like this. But this literally doesn't even make sense. It doesn't make sense. So you're going to become an immigrant in Norway, a left-leaning country, because of the leftist politicians in the US. Next post. We rode hard for Trump, but the system he built sent my wife packing, deported, gone. Do I regret my vote? Hell yeah, it stings. Would I vote for him again? Bet your boots I would. My kids are crying, heart's breaking, but I'm still all in. Again, I really, really genuinely hope this is fake, but if it's not, then I've officially lost hope. This is crazy. This is absolutely crazy. So this man voted for someone, and he said we rode hard for Trump. So what that probably means is that his wife also voted, or I guess if she got deported, then maybe she didn't have the right to vote, technically speaking. But I wonder how she feels about that because, I don't know, it seems like the kids are smiling in this picture. He's smiling. She doesn't seem like she is finding much amusement or joy in this situation. So I don't know. I'm looking at this and alarm bells are going off in my head because these young children with their young impressionable minds are going to grow up without their mother because he wanted to vote for Trump. And he says he regrets it, but he would vote for him again. It doesn't make sense. It does not make sense to me. Hopefully, this experience will actually turn his children in the other direction. Maybe the pain of losing their mother during their adolescent years will inspire them to start voting for people who, well, do value human rights. But with his influence and his stubbornness, his narcissism, my hopes aren't very high. They are not very high at all. And I actually saw a comment that said he's probably the one who reported her. Honestly, he probably is. And he's just making this post to save face, but he probably did report her, which is crazy to me. That's insane. Because wouldn't that also make him technically guilty as well? Wouldn't that make him an accessory? I think that's a crime. Housing illegal immigrants. I'm almost certain that that's illegal in itself. So, hey, maybe they should deport him too. In fact, they should. Matter of fact, no, don't deport him. Keep him over there. I don't want him anywhere near me. I've gotten as far away as I geographically can from the US, and I would like to keep it that way. I want to stay as far away as possible from people like him. On to the next post. If we are so stupid, then why are we the best country in the world? Well, you're not. Why are we the most desired? Why are we number one? Number one in what? Mass shootings, maybe. But I don't know of anything that America is actually number one in. I mean, even if you talk about the average annual income or GDP or whatever other money-based metric you want to use, a lot of those numbers are skewed by that top 0.1%. And I actually saw a very good comment about this recently. For the life of me, I can't remember who the comment was from or on what video it was, but if you made this comment, you know who you are. So thank you for that. But basically, the person said that if Jeff Bezos were to move to Skid Row, he would instantly increase the average annual income of Skid Row by a substantial margin, and actually maybe even make it one of the wealthiest places in the country in terms of average annual income. Now, statistically, I don't know how true that is, if it would have that big of an impact, but generally speaking, the principle remains true that inequality is completely and utterly ignored when looking at these metrics. And again, just having more money does not equate to having more wealth, because by and large, Americans do not have as much leisure time as Europeans do. They simply do not. You can fact check that for yourself. So I don't know where they're getting this narrative from about being the most desired, being the best country in the world. I don't know. This seems like an argument that a kid would make. Perhaps one of these kids right here would say something like that in response to something that someone else says. This doesn't seem like something an adult would say. But honestly, what I've come to realize is that, especially when looking at people like this, or the person who wrote this comment, a lot of American adults never really developed their intellectual capabilities beyond the age of 12.